Jumping right in, it looks like the Kaiser did win the roll and opt to go first, as we see the extra rune on the Victor side. Treferian War Camp, pretty obviously a Victor battlefield, into a more traditional Kaisa battlefield, Targon's Peak. Not the Dreaming Tree that we saw before, though could potentially be playing that still. This is honestly a battlefield that probably both of them could appreciate, the Targon's Peak, because
Mm-hmm.
Victor does have a fair number of actions and reactions that they can use. But nope, Kaisa does start off with the Watchful Sentry, kind of your perfect first drop.
Yeah, both players curving out ideally, having a 3-drop on turn 2 for Victor, getting 2 units on the board. Love to see it since you're able to push 2 battlefields in that same turn. Pass it over to Kaiser, most likely thinking about conquering Targon's Peak, so she's able to bring back those 2 runes once she conquers to keep things online, like that Ray we've seen Kaiser run most likely 3 of in this deck, Liz. So does decide for the Targon's Peak, scoring her very first point of the semifinals best of 3 series.
Yeah, unless there is something to remove, we should see Victor then take both of these battlefields. Would not be surprised if Kaisa does let this go through, but okay. I mean, this is pretty good too. Just trading in, getting the draw. It does feel good when your Stupefy actually does have value. The bonus value of removing a unit as well, as a lot of times it is just used for the draw. But they're trading in with the manufacturer, and now preventing the Victor from moving on to the war camp.
Yeah, it looks like he almost went to go score a point. I'll rewind time a little bit, keep him at 0 because it looks like he has 1 reaction. Does decide to spend the Hex Ray, so all the tempo completely deleted for Victor, scarring for square one. But this is a nice play. Call of the week when there's nothing on your board, virtually free. So your opponent has to discard or send a unit to the trash. Captain Vanguard, since Legion has been activated, building back up that base. I like these plays coming out quite optimal. You can see why he is indeed in the semifinals, making full use of his runes, making full use of his cards, passes it over, the hopeful ready. So let's see what Kaiser decides to do.
Yeah, both of these players have had pretty strong starts here. Kaisa pushing for tempo with the very aggressive Ray onto the token, but I don't hate it. It does kind of guarantee that you are going to control this Targon's Peak on the follow-up turn, as the Victor didn't get to restand any runes during their own end phase, and that does let them play a bit more aggressively with their own interaction. And now Victor may be deciding it's time to move on to the war camp instead. The Noxus Hopeful is a little bit harder to push off of the Targon's Peak with 4 might.
Yeah, and you can't really rely on something like Call of the Week that we saw before. There's 3 units on Kaiser's side, so he would easily have the option of choosing something like the Pouty Pour to go send to the trash. So has to think about how are you going to take down 4 might. There's nothing like Cleave. Yeah, even something like a Sprite Mother. I guess you could follow it up with another recruit token, or if you really want to win with the Captain Vanguard. But this one's tough. Of course, we'll have to see what Victor's playing because we don't know with absolute certainty just yet. There's not enough runes for something like a Singularity, and you're one shy away. Yeah, you're one shy away from things like a Falling Comet if you did want to use it nice and early on something like the Hopeful.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind leaving the Targon's Peak in Kaisa's control this turn, as then it does prevent Kaisa from reconquering it again and getting those free runes again, and instead building on the war camp. Like I mentioned before in one of our previous matches, that is a pretty common Victor thing, as you can, when you are playing with this war camp, you can just hold it, and it's very, you don't want to trade with Victor on war camp, and then you pull it all back and then you dump it into a stratagem that clears the board. So does decide to pull back here with only 1 rune up. It does look like this, yeah, just goes for free, which gives Kaisa the draw. Kind of what you want to see with Kaisa. You want your survivor to always be getting value when it hits the board. The card is, I'm not going to say the most sticky in the mirror, but against the Viktor deck, I would say it is definitely a little bit more sticky, since the main cards that would be removing that are going to be played on the Viktor's turn. You don't really want a Hidden Blade a Kaisa.
Wow, and a Draven getting played out for Kaiser. That's most likely preparing for something like the Kaiser mirror match, but nonetheless, that's still a formidable minded unit for Viktor to take care of, especially considering most of his trades or most of his kills come from things like trade. I say that, but of course, things like the Singularity Fallen Comet have been seen before. We'll see if this Viktor is indeed running. So keeping it straightforward, just testing the water, sending in a recruit token, does get the Conquer on Targon's Peak with the simple recruit. Now the harder one to take down, the War Camp with the 5 might from the Kaiser. You could send in the Vanguard, you could send in the Manufacturer. That's going to be effectively 7 total might to conquer the War Camp. And whoa, what is he going? He's going for the Watcher already, so bringing that 5 might all the way down to just 2, enough for a simple recruit token. I like this play. I think this is him not overcommitting his units, making sure that he's just going to conquer with, he's going to evenly trade with this one, and then just send in 1 recruit token, follow that up. That way you're able to save your entire real units, if you will, the Vanguard, the Manufacturer, and the Watcher, for the following turn to push that much stronger.
Yeah, this is pretty guaranteed to trade up. I guess it, yeah, okay. So there's a recall. I don't think it's really the end of the world. I mean, you're probably okay with that. The Watcher did force Kaisa to remove themselves from both of the battlefields, and you didn't lose any of your units in process, right? So you still have a lot of power in your base. Maybe setting yourself again up for maybe a stratagem or some other big push in a future turn. But Kaisa does have a lot to work with. 10 runes, 5 cards in hand. One we know is the Kaisa, and a big fat Draven on the board. With no runes up, like, what are you doing about that? Did they forget to restand for Targon, actually?
He probably did. He missed the window of opportunity for that Targon's Peak trigger. This is the semifinals, so a little bit more seriousness with more, they have to be a little bit more serious and intentional with their actions. The Kaisa with the accelerate ability will be played out, so able to pick her poison here. Whichever battlefield being tapped out, you should be able to conquer. So this is not looking too hot for Viktor. You were at 4, most likely going to 6 this turn, because Draven at 8 total might. Seeing if there's anything that recruit token could get done. No, just keeps it straightforward, keeps the Draven in the back in case there is something like a grand strategy an NA mention. But I like this. Kaisa playing is super nice, making sure she doesn't overextend herself, developing the board she currently has in the base perfectly, knowing that when the time comes and push comes to shove, she's going to have enough units to really make sure she closes things out from that 6 to 7 to 8 final point, probably getting that game won. But first things first, let's see what Viktor has.
So the board doesn't have guaranteed game on it for Kaisa unless the Viktor does something. So Kaisa is forced to actually use cards from hand here, which is what you want to see as Viktor. There is a lot to work with in the base with the Draven, the Double Hopeful, and the Student, but these should everything on the battlefield should be getting cleared pretty free. Oh, wow, okay. Another recall. Wow, that's a generally recall powerful card. You don't always see it at 3 in Kaisa, so I mean, is that the third one? No, that's the second one. But
second one, yeah. At least always 2, sometimes 3. But Viktor going up to 5 points himself, and now he's trying to put some units onto the base, but it doesn't feel too good because there's another card there's a similar card that Viktor has played that Kaisa also has hands on. Probably something like a Watcher. A Watcher is going to be immense amount of value for Kaisa this following turn if she does indeed have it. -3 on a total of 6 units, making it that much easier for both your hopefuls, your Draven, and even your Yordle to conquer both of these battlefields. There's a lot. Ooh, I like the 6 runes, NA. Do you have any idea what those 6 runes could possibly be?
That's a very suspicious number, isn't it?
That's a very suspicious number. Sleepless has to be very mindful because he's gonna wait. It's an action, and we are indeed talking about the grand strategy. And if he has that in mind, or it could even be Imperial Decree just to stop. One way you could play around Imperial would be sending in units one by one. Actually, it's for the turn, so maybe that's not even way. It has to most likely be a grand strategy. And even if Watcher comes down, Grand Stratagem will buff everything up after the Watcher ability. So this is a tricky spot for Sleepless. I like how this Viktor is maneuvering their plays.
Yep, so do we see... Yep, looks like Stratagem's going to come down. It was rather expected. The scary thing here is a lot of Kaisalists play Time Warp. The game's just over if there's a Time Warp in hand.
Right.
Which is why I'm not a huge fan of dropping the Stratagem on the first attack.
Yeah.
It would trade with a token, or I guess a manufacturer, and I think you're okay with that. But maybe there's more that I'm missing. I personally would have liked to see more of the units committed, like use it on a Hopeful attack or a Draven attack to remove the bigger units. But we'll see, does he have it, or does he have another plan? Because there's also Darius's, there's Watchers.
Yeah, I think that could have been executed slightly differently. It was only a Yordle. He kind of pulled the trigger 1-2 bit early, because if he waited until something more impactful was heading his direction, as you said, what was a Yordle really going to do? Take out a recruit, take out your manufacturer, perhaps? I mean, the one thing I could say for Viktor, he wanted to prioritize keeping his entire board, but one unit versus having 5 or 3 extra might on each and every one, that's going to be, there's bigger value in having the 3 miter cores, because you would have reacted, or does it end up being the same thinking about it now? Because either -3 before, -3 after, I think it might have been the same either or.
Well, this is definitely better because you do get the reduction on the tokens, where before, if you had gone Watcher into Stratagem, then you do end up not getting that.
Yeah.
This isn't enough to clear the board, though. So 13, yeah, so this isn't enough to clear the board. This leaves the Watcher on the board, so this tells me there's like a smoke screen, or yeah, there's the smoke screen onto the Watcher. Should put it down to 6, which is still not quite game, so we probably have something else as well.
Oh, the double smoke screen. Bringing that Watcher with was an immense, what was that, 12 total might? I don't remember this point, but gonna be enough to make sure you conquer. Yeah, you do. That was the map. I think he was just shy by 2 points, and the smoke screen brought in the range. So Kaiser doing what she does and taking that game off of Viktor.
Yeah, I don't hate Obelisk of Power in Viktor, as it does let you go first, so you have the go first advantage, but you still get the double drop with a unit plus the token. Generally, I am not a huge fan of Obelisk of Power in general, but specifically in this Viktor deck, in this situation where you are going first, I like it.
Yeah, I think exactly right. You're able to get that Viktor ability plus a 2-cost unit as early as that turn 1, but keep in mind, you're getting Kaiser 4 runes on turn 1. She's able to get her Kaiser Survival started, and instead of, I mean, it ends up being about the same. A 2 might unit plus a recruit token with that manufacturer to get things rolling for Viktor. Let's see if she does want to deploy the Kaiser Survivor as early as turn 1. Is it beneficial? It doesn't seem like it's too bad. You get that card advantage draw online nice and early.
Yeah, you definitely could. I don't think she will. I think it's generally better to get a... Oh, wow. Okay, yeah, this isn't too bad. It's pretty value. Hitting them both, and then yeah. So this is kind of what I would like to see, is you do clear out the board, and you do get your own 2-cost in play, and your 2-cost is giving you a draw, whereas theirs has lost the value, but passes right back over. I mean, pretty good turn for the Viktor as well.
Yeah, making full use of each and every rune every turn. The only thing is that Fallen Star is such a nuisance for aggressive decks. You want to try to develop the board the best you can, but getting not backfire, but getting completely taken out with just a single card, and it only caused Kaiser one rune to recycle, which seems busted. Usually Fallen Star designed to set you back an entire turn, just sets her back about half a turn. Conquers a Century Course, going up to 1, and no, this is the worst case scenario for Viktor. 2 Falling Stars in what seemed like the opening hand. What a fortunate turn of events for this Kaiser player, just top decking and drawing the exact cards you need in this matchup. Of course, you might have ran into one in the mulligan, drew into another one, but Falling Stars is quite problematic for aggressive decks like Viktor. Or little decks, little might units like Viktor.
Yeah, it was a very aggressive start for Kaisa with the double falling star, but this does free things up for Viktor to now play the Viktor champion unit, which normally you might be a little bit hesitant to because it can get easily cleared with like a falling star. But as Kaisa has already gone through 2, seeing the 3rd is pretty unlikely, at least immediately. So you are free to drop that Viktor unit and then get immediate value, right? Trading with the Sentry, which then gives you the token.
Yeah, so I think as you said, he does feel safe. Right now you're not going to get too much value from it since you don't have any non-recruit units, but Kaiser does get brought out. Doesn't pay the additional cost to accelerate, wants to value the full extension, and gets the Noxus Hopeful online as well. So 2 4-might units, you can't ask for much more. Both of these players making ideal plays, maximizing each and every rune. As we said before, the Singularity trying to give Kaiser a taste of her own medicine, saying, you're going to Fallen Star me, I'm virtually going to Fallen Star you. But the big boy version, 6 damage on both of those backline units. This is the tempo difference Viktor needed to get this back in the game. 3 points for Viktor and full control of battlefields. I like this position going forward.
Yeah, and this Viktor set card could be a few different things, as again, this is the more control-y Viktor rather than the full aggro one. Could be a Consult the Past, could be a Hidden Blade. I would probably again expect more of a Consult the Past in this kind of scenario, where you are only committing 1 unit to the battlefield, because then you do not get blown out by like a Void Seeker on the Viktor. So probably Consult the Past, but Darius being pushed up. Okay.
Yeah, I agree with you, because you don't really want to Hidden Blade your own champion while you're trying to keep him alive. So I think it is Consult the Past, unless it is a Hidden Blade. And I was just about to say, he pushed up the recruit token. That's a +3 draw, immense amount of value coming out from this turn. Doesn't have the most amount of runes, exactly 6 runes to work with. If this is a secondary Singularity, it wouldn't be too bad. I mean, Kaiser drew 2 Falling Stars. What's Viktor to draw 2 Singularities? But instead tries to keep forward and pushing the pace, getting those board developments going. Manufacturer and Captain Vanguard. Oof, man, so many units. If a follow-up grand strategy, and I mean, it's a little early. You're still just at 3 total points, but there's a lot of potential coming out from this Viktor.
Looks like building up a whole army in the base, but there is no war camp this time around, so those tokens are actually one might.
Yeah, they're gonna be sticking around unless, as you said, something like grand strategy comes in as as the next turn or the turn following that. So they do add up, and the double Viktor hitting the base, not gonna make use of it since she did get 2 points for holding both of these battlefields. But both players are doing quite well. This is the one rare occurrence where Kaiser just continues to tap out turn after turn, not really caring what Viktor has in mind, just letting him do what he can. And now Viktor going all the way to 6 total points, just 2 more points to close things out. I like this position. If you kind of just hold things back, and if you do indeed have a grand strategy, it's very likely you're able to conquer both battlefields in a single turn.
Yeah, this is not a happy spot for Kaisa. Only 3 cards in hand, and you do need to be aware of the there's a lot that could be up. Like, you have the stratagem, you have the the Imperial Decree. Ooh, what are we playing?
Oh,
Okay,
the Shane
Shen.
coming down.
Okay.
+2 shield and tank. So he has to tank all the damage before passing on any damage. Theirs was just at 5. So it's going to be trading evenly. Wait, why is it set at 6? It's 3. Yeah, it's set to 5. So trading quite evenly with the Darius as it stands. Of course, something like a Stupefy could change things.
Yeah, if he did have an action plus a reaction or a couple actions here, the Darius does go up to 7. If one is a Stupefy or a Smokescreen or something, should cleanly win this combat. I would say the thing that I would have been hoping here for Kaisa is that this combat is allowed to go through, and you just take both points, and then you can say, okay, time warp for game. But unfortunately, being forced to actually commit cards from your hand to do these combats does take that option away. So there will be no scam time warp coming out to win the game, because you do always need to be aware of the once Kaisa hits those 4 points, you can just lose the game if they have both battlefields in a time warp. So
I mean, looking at things as it stands, Kaisa, rare occurrence where, as we said before, where she's tapping out turn after turn, rare occurrence where she only has 2 cards in hand. Granted, she has quite the board developed already, so that's where those cards ended up going. But in hand, we're oftentimes used to seeing her a bit more than 2, so maybe something like a Void Seeker Smokescreen coming out. But trying to decide where he sends the Stupefy. Oh, no, he put it on Shen. He just didn't put the Stupefy in the trash yet. I'm wondering what they're discussing, though. Is he thinking about...
Well, it looks like potentially there was a missed power cost a couple turns ago from the Viktor. I don't know if they caught it, but it was a while ago. Though it did matter, because the following turn, the Viktor did tap out. So that
Oh,
would
Lord.
change quite a bit.
Yeah, we were in the heat of the casting. I didn't even notice. I expect these players, especially being 4 wins, 1 loss, to uphold the battlefield and maintain the board state to the best of their abilities. They should have been able to see, but perhaps the Kaisa player was trying to give maybe both players were giving each other the benefit of the doubt, saying, you know, they know what they're doing. He knows what they're doing. I don't have to be that much. I don't have to be hawking them each turn. I'm trusting that they're going to recycle their thing. There was a missed cost. Oh, Lord. And Soka, is that a missed cost from the Viktor side?
Yeah, and it again was a one that actually matters. It was not a, well, whatever, we floated one. It was a one that allowed them to make the play they did on the next turn. So that would change a fair bit, I believe. I would have to go back and watch. Maybe
No.
just...
Little things add up. And you can't really go back from this position. And in semifinals, it is so tough. Sleepless also didn't see it. So they're almost both at fault. I believe they're deciding to just continue on with the game. Kaisa is up 1 game, so there's potentially still a game 3 if Viktor ends up closing things out. But I think from this position, since they both missed it in the current moment, they have to be very, very careful going forward that doesn't happen again. If it does, I think 2 infractions, at least as intense as, not intense, but as high level as the semifinals, it will unfortunately lead to that game 1 loss or 1 game loss. So I think they just decided Sleepless giving them some slack there.
Yeah, now in not a very good position. Like, look at how big that Viktor base is, and now you have to be aware of a follow-up Grand Stratagem or Imperial Decree to wipe out anything that you do leave on the battlefields. Kaisa has a lot of runes, not a lot of cards though.
Yeah, not a lot indeed. And it looks like our head judge is on call with these guys. So if he rules it differently than continue playing, I will agree with him. I'm just here to host. I'm just here to have fun with NA and cast and bring you guys some good Riftbound games. I'll let the head judges deal with the tougher decisions. No Darius trigger from Stupefy. Yeah, Blackjacks. I think they're dealing with something a little bit beyond that, but I know what you mean. It should have gone up to 7. Because no. What did he play before the
I believe that was the
Stupefy?
first card.
Yeah,
I
I
believe
think
that was
Stupefy was the first card.
yeah. But that was the first card played on the turn. I believe I got a little bit caught up in this whole rune
Me
situation.
too. Me too.
Right?
I kept looking over at chat, and I guess to answer some questions while we wait. Hey, OG, it seems like you're a very new player. It is just the colors of your legend that you could play units on. But welcome on in and welcome to Riftbound. But head judge Soka taking care of things, trying to decide, does he want to give Viktor a game 1 loss? Actually, a game 1 loss would end his tournament run. That's a semifinals Viktor that's going to be ended with that one mistake. But to be fair, it makes a huge difference. And hey, MK, 100%, we're going to be posting the deck. And we'll post the full top 8 deck list. So that the MF aggro from Prismat's awesome brew, with the permission, they know by entering the tournament, having the rules that we will post the top 8 and then tag their socials and metafies as a little thank you as well. But yeah, in the Discord and then also on our X on Runes and Rift.
Mm-hmm. So it looks like we have progressed. I think they accepted that Viktor was just going to put one back and continue, which is unfortunate because definitely more would have happened, but it is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's better these mistakes happen here than happen at Houston.
Exactly. Kind of a hard pill to swallow if you're the Kaiser player, but at least you do have one more game able to close things out. If you end up going into that game 3, potentially, I mean, you're at 5. You're not 2 ways away from closing things out yourself. I think the more important thing is you just don't have the resources. You have 1, 2 little cards in hand. You have a board. You have some presence on these battlefields, but what is that compared to a grand stratagem with a plethora of base units? I think Viktor might be closing this out as early as right here, right now.
Yeah, Grand Stratagem, Imperial Decree. There are a lot of cards here, even like a Watcher. Like, they're almost infinite cards that Viktor could have. And with a 6-card hand, well, I hope at least one of those is good.
Yeah, I would imagine exactly like you said, a Watcher coming down would be impactful. You can't accelerate it. Actually, wait, no, you could definitely play it. You could play it, but you can't accelerate it. So you still get the -3 on every single unit on Sleepless board. But kind of just a bit of a win-win situation, spoiled with options. So thinking about one of those options, unless of course he just doesn't have it, but it looks like it's going to be a Watcher coming down. As we mentioned, it won't be accelerated, but all you need is the Watcher ability -3. So 1, 2, 1. Effective just 5 current might. There's 1 card in hand. If that's a Void Seeker, that's going to be +1 on each. So +2 on the Dreaming Tree. Potentially another one if you top deck a good card.
Yep. Coming in here with the Viktor. This would trade, but I mean, you're fine with that. You don't care. Pretty efficient. And now you can just shove up the tokens one by one.
That's right. And there we go, guys. Game number 2. We had a little bit of a situation, but we try to remedy the best we can. One more time, shout out to our head judge Soka, shout out to all our judges, and shout out to our caster here. Since we're doing shout outs, caster NA, and then shout out to all you guys for tuning in, checking out the semifinals and this tournament here today. Game number 3, that is what we have in store for us.
You know how we said that it is a controlly Viktor deck? Well, it's still a Viktor deck. You can still go underneath a lot of stuff. Like the Grand Stratagem, in the Decree, a lot of ways to just end the game on early turns. So the Arena's Greatest going to be pretty powerful.
Yeah, and what's also really powerful is going to be Kai's best, or one of her best battlefields, Reaver's Row. You're able to keep your Darius safe, your accelerated Kai's Survivor safe, any unit like Ravenbloom safe. So I like the opening start. Ravenbloom getting played out. Viktor, does she start with the 3rd manufacturer? That's 3 manufacturers back to back.
Yeah, that's exactly what you want to see as Viktor, especially when you're going second. So Not what you want to see as Kaisa, but sometimes it happens.
Yeah. And it looks like she's on 4 runes, of course, being that turn. Actually, shouldn't she? No. Yeah, she was on the play, so 4. So most
Yep.
guys just tend to go ahead and play out their champion, but instead, gonna get the Yordle, get the +1, of course, keeping things simple, leaving either a Stupefy or a Ray. But Reaver's Row makes it amazing for Kaiser. She doesn't even have to deploy those if she chooses, but keeping things pedal to the metal, aggressive nature, Sprite Mother coming in with a 3 might unit. Does he kind of force out? And okay, kind of a bit of a backward sequencing, meant to spend the seal first.
Hmm. Yeah, and obviously both players, good players. They understand these things, and not most likely would rather get a good game of Riftbound in than concentrate on these little small things. So
Yeah,
okay
at the
with
end of the day, we're all trying to
shortcuts.
get better.
Yeah, exactly. We all want to be prepared for and ready to do our absolute best at Houston.
So might as well play a little bit more against higher level opponents. So throwing it back, Viktor doesn't have too much of a formidable board presence on these battlefields, so Kaiser isn't too worried. If she has something like Darius or even the Kaiser Survivor, she should be enough to conquer both of these battlefields. One of those hidden cards makes things a little bit tricky, but of course, I think Viktor's more likely leaning towards sacrificing his own sprite, netting him 2+ card draw because he's getting rather low on card economy.
Yeah, probably a Hidden Blade or a Consult the Past. Both options to see more cards. Nothing really aggressive. I would say the only aggressive card that you might see is like maybe a Blast Cone Fae, but
Mm-hmm.
probably not, especially considering the fact that it is a temporary unit. Um, Telling the Kaisa that it will be played this turn regardless if you attack or not, right? Because otherwise, when it gets passed over, the sprite would die and the card would get sent to trash. So obviously going to be played this turn regardless of combat, so it's definitely a draw card.
Oh, and this is big because you can't Oh, it is a Blast
Oh my
Fade.
god.
You're totally right. I thought it was for certain a Hidden Blade, but a Blast Fade to
Okay.
hold the battlefield, going up to
Okay.
4 themselves. And okay,
Oh, well,
interesting.
that was definitely an interesting play. I did not see that coming. But yeah, you can definitely do that in the case that he did decide to instead flip his Fae. So
It's similarly how Kaiser was running out of steam, running out of resources in game 2. Now Victor's the one who finds himself running low on resources. It looks like he started strong, got up to 4 points, but I'm just not seeing how he's gonna keep adding the gas to his plays. Cause little by little, look at how many cards Kaiser has. She has at least another Void Seeker, gets another card up the top. One of those is a Hextech Ray, potentially even another Falling Star, which would be huge in this position. Oh man, I don't want to say it and speak too soon, but Kaiser is looking very good for this potential game 3. Or not potential,
mm,
for this game 3.
yeah, I wonder if there's a world even where you just don't put anything on the stack as Kaisa that turn that allows the victor to play the reaction and then it just dies. But obviously pushing up the student maybe better value. I don't hate it.
Yeah, I know
Just
exactly what you mean, because he would have to lose both of those cards, right? Like, you lose a
mhm.
point by not pushing forward the arenas, but temporary would trigger, and then he wouldn't be able to react to the beginning step, right? So I think he would have lost both of those cards if he ended up doing that.
Yeah, and especially if you're reading that it is a draw spell, then like I 100% want you to not get those draws when you have no cards.
Mm-hmm.
But both players on another level, thinking way beyond us.
Oh, yeah.
So
And playing well so far. Let's see if these guys can finish strong. Keeping the board development progress on Sleepless side, passes it over. So in full control of the board, didn't deploy anything like a falling star. Decided to rather keep 3 runes ready. So a suspicious 3 runes, I might add. Do you want to go ahead and spend it on a 1 might unit? You don't need to since you have Reaver's Row.
Yeah, Reaver's Row really powerful for Kaisa. You can make up for maybe playing less units than other decks or more valuable units than other decks by just retreating every time. It does let you reconquer with Kaisa, so you get those extra draws, see more cards, and just spare your units for the big push because Kaisa doesn't need to clear things through combat. So you can choose to save your units and then just push them up on empty battlefields, which is a lot safer.
And whoa, real quick in there, you seeing what I'm seeing? We rarely see A, decks play seals at all, and then B, playing two different color seals. That is impressive that he actually worked that into his strategy and building that into his deck. We rarely see it, but apparently he made it work today, going 4-1, going 4 wins and 1 loss.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting one. I think the seals are pretty good, specifically the Unity one, as the easy way to trigger your Vanguard Captain, your Legions. And Viktor does have a fair amount of order power that you have to pay. I'd say the Seal of Insight's a little bit more interesting for me because I generally don't see a ton of that. If he is playing a high hidden count, which, I mean, there's like a reasonable amount of hidden in his deck, it does kind of offset some of those costs, maybe. Like you said, definitely non-standard.
Definitely not standard. So deciding to let go of the sentry, prioritizing the draw since he's low on hand size rather than retreating it back to base with Reaver's Row. But that means Kaiser going up to 7, just a single point away. And knowing what Viktor's point total is, being at 5, Viktor cannot win this very next turn. Even if you had the perfect card combination, even if you could conquer both of these battlefields, you're still going to get one more turn. And to make matters worse, the Acathian rain coming down, that is a scoop from Viktor, and Kaiser will be moving forward.